2025. A world louder than ever before, yet somehow emptier than it's ever been. Scroll after scroll, video after video, Gen Z drifts through a sea of endless content, but no real connection. They were told they could be anything, do anything, change the world. But somewhere along the way, the dream died. This isn't a story about laziness or entitlement. It's a story about hope and what happens when it fades. Because for the first time in modern history, an entire generation is asking one haunting question. What's the point of dreaming when the world doesn't play fair? Let's rewind to when dreaming still meant something. When kids were told that hard work guaranteed success, that college was the golden ticket, and that the world was full of opportunity. That was the promise. But for Gen Z, that promise came with fine print. And the fine print said, "Good luck surviving the system." By the time they were old enough to dream, the world was already on fire. The pandemic shattered classrooms, friendships, and trust in the future. Inflation made their coffee cost more than their savings could handle. Housing, out of reach. Jobs, replaced by automation or internships with exposure. And the internet, the place they once escaped to, became a mirror reflecting everything they'll never have. And so, they stopped dreaming. Because every dream came with a price tag they couldn't afford. Every hope came with a headline saying, "The world is ending." And every smile online was filtered through someone else's success. In a world obsessed with progress, Gen Z started to wonder, what's the point of running if the finish line keeps moving? They don't want yachts, fame, or fake followers. They just want peace. And that feels like the rarest dream of all. Because peace doesn't trend. Peace doesn't sell. Peace doesn't go viral. But maybe, just maybe, the death of dreams isn't the end of hope. It's a rebirth. Maybe this generation isn't giving up. Maybe they're waking up. Because they've seen behind the curtain. They know the system was never built for everyone to win. And now they're asking deeper questions. Like, what if success isn't about money? What if purpose matters more than perfection? What if dreaming different is the only dream worth having? For some, the death of dreams is a tragedy, but for others, it's liberation. Because when you stop chasing the life they sold you, you start creating the one that's yours. And maybe that's the quiet revolution no one saw coming. Not a generation lost, but a generation reborn. This is the death of dreams and the beginning of something real.
The silence after the storm. That's what it feels like for millions of young people right now. Not the chaos, not the noise, but the quiet numbness that follows when the noise fades and reality sets in. A generation burned out before it even began to live. They wake up every morning, scroll through 1,000 lives better than their own, then stare at the ceiling and whisper, "What am I even doing?" They're heroes, streamers, influencers, people who turn their pain into entertainment. And the cruel irony? Even those heroes are exhausted too, because everyone's performing, but no one's really living. College degrees once meant power. Now they mean debt. Dream jobs turned into remote contracts and burnout cycles. And while corporations preach mental health, they quietly measure every second of your day. Welcome to the new version of the American dream, where hustle never sleeps and peace costs extra. But Gen Z sees through it all. They've grown up in a world of broken promises, from climate change to student loans to the illusion of freedom. They watched billionaires fly rockets into space while their generation can't afford rent. They watched motivation turn into marketing, passion turn into profit, and purpose disappear somewhere in between. And yet, they're not blind. They see the game for what it is. They know that every system is designed to keep them distracted, to trade their attention for validation and their time for likes. And in that awareness, there's something powerful, because when you finally see the machine, you can choose to stop feeding it. That's the shift happening in silence. Gen Z isn't marching in the streets. They're withdrawing from the illusion. They're trading degrees for self-learning, offices for freedom, and fame for peace. They're not lazy. They're tired of fighting a rigged game. Some call them lost, but maybe they're just the first ones brave enough to stop pretending. Because how long can you chase a dream that no longer exists? They don't want to climb corporate ladders. They want to build their own paths. They don't want to fit in. They want to be free. And that freedom? It scares the world. Because freedom doesn't make profit. Freedom doesn't sell subscriptions. Freedom doesn't obey algorithms. But for the first time, a generation isn't asking for permission to live differently. They're creating art, music, code, movements, all from their bedrooms. They're rewriting what success means, quietly but powerfully. Still, underneath that rebellion, there's pain. Because when dreams die, something in you dies too. And even if you build something new, the ghost of the old dream lingers, whispering what could have been. The dream of stability, the dream of making it, the dream their parents had, but the world never gave them a chance to live. And yet, within that loss, something is awakening. Because when everything falls apart, you see what truly matters. Not luxury, not fame, not validation, but love, purpose, connection, and those can't be taken away. This is the silence after the storm, and in that silence, a new dream is quietly being born.
There's a moment after every collapse when you open your eyes and realize you're still here. The world didn't end. It just changed shape. And maybe, just maybe, that's where real life begins. Because the truth is, Gen Z never truly stopped dreaming. They just stopped dreaming someone else's dream. They stopped chasing what they were told would make them happy and started searching for what actually does. That shift is revolution in disguise. They're building things that don't fit the old world. Small businesses, online movements, art collectives, digital tribes, connected not by money, but by meaning. They're redefining success, not as a title or a paycheck, but as waking up without regret. And that's terrifying for a world built on control. See, the old system thrived on fear. Fear of being broke, fear of being left behind, fear of not being enough. But this new generation is learning to live without fear. They don't want to own everything. They just want to feel alive. They don't want to prove anything. They just want to belong. And that simplicity is the most radical rebellion of all. Because when you stop competing, you start creating. When you stop chasing attention, you start finding peace. And when you stop trying to impress the world starts to notice you for who you really are. That's where rebirth begins. Every revolution starts with one truth. The system only works if you believe in it. But what happens when an entire generation stops believing? It doesn't mean chaos. It means awakening. Because when you stop believing in the old dream, you make space for a new one. A dream that's quieter, simpler, more human. It's the dream of balance, not burnout. Of authenticity, not image. Of connection, not followers. It's the dream of a life where you don't have to escape every weekend because you actually like your Monday mornings. And that's not naive, that's evolution. Because the death of dreams was never an ending, it was a cleansing. Every old lie had to die so something real could take its place. And now that truth is spreading, quietly, digitally, globally. Not through leaders, not through politics, but through whispers in late-night Discord calls, through art, through kindness, through people who believe again, not in a system, but in themselves. That's the real miracle of this generation. They don't wait for permission anymore. They're launching businesses from coffee shops, making music from bedrooms, raising funds for strangers online. And with every click, every post, every act of courage, they're rebuilding belief itself. Not in institutions, but in possibility. Because belief isn't dead. It's just gone home. It's no longer something you find out there. It's something you rebuild in here, in the heart, in the long nights when you decide not to give up, in the mornings when you choose to try again, even if no one's watching. So maybe this is the real story of Gen Z. Not the death of dreams, but the rebirth of purpose. Because they're not waiting for the future to save them anymore. They're building it, piece by piece, pixel by pixel, moment by moment. And somewhere in that quiet rebuilding, hope starts breathing again. So to the ones who still feel lost, this is your sign. The world you were promised doesn't exist anymore. But that means you're free. Free to build something real, something beautiful, something yours. The future isn't dead, it's just waiting for you to wake it up. This is not the death of dreams. This is the moment we start dreaming again.